Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 4th, 2024 meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we'll do the roll call of members. Michael Croto, Chair.
Jared O'Connell, Vice Chair.
Jimmy Robertine, member.
Jose Medina, member.
Okay. And with us this evening, we have Jay Mankara from NRPC. Welcome. And Lou Caron, our town engineer. Welcome. First item on the agenda, public input on non-agenda items. Items not on the agenda for this evening. Anybody have anything on non-agenda items this evening? All right, seeing no one for non-agenda items, I will close public input on non-agenda items. We'll go to the first order of business on our agenda this evening, which is Kevin Anktil, Smoking Spranks barbecue sign at 517 Charles Bancroft Highway. Is the applicant present this evening?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Kevin Anktil, 43 Tanager Way, Litchfield.
Okay. So this, as my understanding, is related to our sign ordinance. And you, I assume you have a business, you're running a business in town, or you're doing some sort of a temporary thing, is that my understanding?
Yeah, I run a business. Mr. Charbonneau of Continental Paving allows me to use the property there. I have a mobile barbecue trailer. I'm setting up there a couple days a week and selling to the public. And the purpose of the sign is basically just to notify the public when I'm going to be there.
Okay. And you have a license to do
Yep.
that, I assume? Okay.
I'm licensed with the state, and I have a license with the town as well.
Great, okay. We do have something here regarding the sign. Did you want to talk about the sign, or you want to just provide the board with some input about it, or?
Sure. It's just a small letterboard sign. It's about 4 feet by 3 feet, two-sided. There's no lighting, nothing like that. It sits right at ground level. And like I said, it's basically just out there for the purpose of me, letting the drivers know when I'm going to be there, because my schedule rotates a little bit from week to week as I have catering gigs or things like that.
All right, great. Jay, did you want to chime in? Do you know anything?
Yeah, I mean,
any
it's
information for this?
really pretty straightforward. It's a fairly small sign. It complies with our regulations. Obviously, it's easy to move. It's temporary, so it's really pretty simple all around.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? No. Okay. Joan, anything from your end, or?
As a citizen, the only issue I have is that blow-up thing that's waving in the wind and making a lot of racket. I looked at the ordinance, and we eliminate flags and banners, so would that be a banner, or what would it be?
Yeah, who fall on the ban?
I guess you could call it a banner.
We say no reflective material, no banners, streamers, etc. will be used. No
It's at
lighting.
least et cetera.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's in there.
It's really noisy, and I didn't think it added anything to the ambiance at the truck.
Right, and that's not a part of this application.
No.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank
We
you.
didn't have to not notify abutters because there's no lighting involved.
Okay. I will, though, even though we did not notify abutters because of the issue here tonight, I will open it up to public comment, though. Any members of the public wish to comment on this sign application? Okay, seeing none, I will close public input. bring it back to the board? What is the will of the board? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I'll definitely make a motion to go ahead and approve Smoking Spank's request for a sign at his temporary location at, hold on a second, 517 Charles Bancroft Highway.
Okay, I have a motion by Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Rosé. Any further discussion?
We do have permission from the owner of the property as well.
Okay, thank you. Actually, okay, we have, yeah, I was getting nervous. I thought we didn't have
Just barely.
a quorum. I'm like, oh, no. Okay, so we have a motion, you have a second, discussion. All those in favor of approval of the sign, for the applicant Kevin Anktil Smoking Spanks Barbecue sign at 517 Charles Bancroft Highway, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 400. Thank you very much, and we wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you, have a nice night.
Okay. Moving on, number 2 on, is tonight was, we have a special workshop session. And number 2 is Stormwater Management Rules and Regulations Work Session. As some of you recall, I wasn't at the last meeting, but the meeting before that, we had a special meeting at the fire station regarding the matter of our stormwater regulations. We had a lot of comments, and we had input from our consultant, who's doing the consulting for the town for MS4. Lou was there as well. So tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Jay. We're going to take a look at an updated copy of the regulations there. They know there's 2 copies. One that was sent to us by email, but I think there's another one that was just handed out to us this evening. So there may be some changes there. So Jay, I'll let you start off with the ones that you have.
Okay, so you do have 2 versions. Hopefully everybody got via email the version with the changes that I had suggested. And so I'm gonna run through those. We did get tonight another version which has, I think, most of the changes that I recommended, along with some additional ones from the consultant. So we just got those tonight. I haven't seen those yet. So I'm gonna at least run through what I suggested. I'm not sure what kind of made it to this, but and I'll just kind of talk through some of my
Just wanna say
logic.
that your version is the one that's on the portal.
Is it?
Your version is,
Oh, okay. I didn't. I'll run through it just based on the one that I have because the colors are different, so it's easier for me to see. Either way, so if it's the one in the portal, that's great. That helps. So it's one in the portal. Good to know. So just kind of starting out with the approach that I took was, I think as everybody else, I got a copy of the memo from Morgan House,
Yes.
the attorney,
Yep.
which outlined his concerns.
Right.
And then there was an email from the town's consultant, Nick, that responded to this memo. And in it, he basically went through, and in several areas, his comment was, it's in the town's existing regulations, so up to the board to make any changes. In others, he said, this is directly from the MS4 permit, or this is directly from the MS4 requirements. So my general approach was, I looked at the issues that were raised and the recommendations that were raised in the memo from Attorney Hollis. If it seemed as though I felt it was a reasonable issue that was raised in recommendation, and it was not an issue that Nick flagged as being in the MS4 requirements, in many of those cases I suggested a potential change. So that was kind of the way. So basically that's 2 screens open, memo here, email here. I just kind of went through it that way. In terms of the structure of what you're seeing, if you're looking at the version on the portal and the one that's up on the screen now, everything in, I believe, what's in yellow is language that was suggested by the consultant. As we kind of move through the draft, changes that show up in, and these are in track changes that show up like this NH, that are showing up here in blue, unless I'm wrong, are changes that I believe were in response to Lou's changes. If I'm wrong, let me know. Changes that show up in red are the changes that I suggested.
Okay.
So if
So
that
we
all
can-
makes sense.
We don't have blue on ours, so you're the
Okay,
only one that has the
so
blue up
watch
there.
the screen. That's why I'm doing the one up on the screen. NH, no big deal. I'm not even gonna worry about that. All right, so just moving on down to the first area where I made a change, and this was not in response to anybody's comments. This is under critical areas. And here, what I suggested was just that we use the term wetland instead of stream, bog, water, body, poorly or very poorly drained soils. The reason for that is just very simply, we have a definition of wetland. It includes all of those things. It includes things that are on that list. It just makes sense to use the definition that we have. So, really very simple. Moving on down, again, the language that you see here in yellow came from Nick. Everything that you're seeing here in blue, also, those were changes previously made. Those are not my changes, and I didn't touch any of this. Whether anything that is changed to address MS4 requirements ought to be changed, I can't say because I don't have the expertise. So moving on down to the bottom of what is here, page 4, there was concern expressed in Attorney Hollis's letter about what does this mean and when does it apply. A lot of concern around the 15,000 square feet. 15,000 square feet is the way it is and the way it has been in our current regulations. If we want to change that, we can certainly change it. I didn't suggest any changes to it, simply because that's the way it has been. But there was a concern about this cumulative disturbed area language and how could you read it and how would you apply it. So the reality is that the 15,000 square feet only applies if you're submitting a site plan application or a subdivision application. Does not apply for people who are out there doing their own thing on their property. So first here in A, I simply inserted, instead of a cumulative disturbed area, a site plan with a cumulative disturbed area, because that's really what we mean. So I felt that that just clarified that. There was concern expressed about the town doing work on a road, that should that apply or not. I think our intent here was construction of a street or road. I took out reconstruction because I don't really think that that was our intent. Also, the reconstruction of a road is not something that comes before the planning board for approval. So it didn't make sense for it to be there. And then D, there was a lot of concern around this disturbed critical area, C definitions. And I suggested just that we strike that because I do agree that that's kind of problematic. Moving on to the next page. Again, concern was expressed about this existing landscaping. What do we mean? What if you change your land? I just said maintenance of landscaping. Get rid of existing, since that seemed to be a source of confusion. There was also concern about, oh, and I'll just back up just for context. For these areas here are exempt. So this is a list of exempt activities. So that's why this kind of concern about what we meant by existing mattered, because, so maintenance of your landscaping, your gardens, your lawn areas, that's exempt from these requirements. And then there was, well, what about, replacing your septic system? What about, laying a new utility line? All of that seemed to make sense. Again, in Nick's comments, he felt that was reasonable. So I simply added another exemption item here, which is maintenance and repair of existing water lines, septic systems, leach fields, or underground utilities. So that is not regulated. Moving on down, again, everything here you see in blue was a prior change. Not mine, moving, and then here, there was, now I'm under minimum requirements on the bottom of page 5. And there was concern expressed at the topo contours, the 2 feet, which seemed to be excessive. Yeah, that did kind of seem to be tough. Here, we didn't define it, we just said topo contours. So I just added with contour intervals not to exceed 5 feet. 5 feet is what we typically require in our site plan and subdivision regulations. Now it seems consistent to require it here. Once again, you're gonna see I struck the reference, the following reference to critical areas, because that did seem to cause a lot of consternation. Again, moving on down, everything here you're seeing in this next page, so far at least, are changes that were previously suggested. I'm moving on to page 7. And kind of once again, now I'm in the middle of the page under construction drawings, number 5. Here is where we had topo contours at 2 feet. So once again, I suggest we go to 5. That's consistent with what we require typically. There was also concern in Attorney Hollis's letter about the project area within 400 feet of the project boundary, surface waters, etc. Again, concerned that that was excessive, a significant burden. I didn't disagree. Right now, we require you on a site plan or subdivision to show everything within 100 feet. So I figure let's just keep it consistent. That's what we're requiring.
This, you're still talking about this small project.
Yes.
A 5-foot contour in a small project,
Not necessarily a small project. This could be a subdivision or site plan.
well, doesn't this apply to 17,000 to an acre part?
But that
We haven't jumped yet to the acre plus.
well, right, but this doesn't mean it's a small project. The 15,000 means that if you're, right now, under our current regulations, if you're disturbing 15,000 square feet or more, and you're applying for a subdivision or site plan, you have to meet these requirements. So, the
5-foot contour is not much, especially on a small site.
exactly.
And they do them in 2 feet now anyhow. Everything we've been getting has been 2 feet.
Is the printed one newer than your
Supposedly, yeah.
draft?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
it
the one that we
actually-
got today.
It actually did not include your change for 5 feet.
Probably
Instead,
went back to 2.
sufficient detail to convey drainage
Change-
patterns.
change that.
Okay. So I'm just gonna keep going through my changes. I
Let's have
realize
Jay-
that they may have
We'll have
changed
Jay
in
go
this
through
draft.
his, and then we'll we'll go to the others. The other
Okay.
one. So.
So, moving on down. Till we get down to the bottom of page 8. And again, I'll go to the concern that was expressed here. 381. So here, I mean, to me, this was just on the deed or property to which the measures were located. That seemed to be a concern. Here, I just clarified that what we're looking at here is it's on the plans approved by the planning board that recorded at the registry. So you're not chasing deed language. That's where it is. Everybody can see it. And then I eliminated all of this other language that, again, Attorney Hollis felt was a concern and also felt it was unnecessary. And yeah, I agree. So I just took all that language out as to what is going to be on and how are you going to construct the document to be recorded. Those are standard regulated documents and didn't need to be here. Moving on down. I am now moving on to page 10. No changes here. I might be running out of changes. I think there's at least one more. This might be it. Remember. That's in my printed one. I'll just keep scrolling. All right, here. So here there was a concern in Attorney Hollis's letter about the waiver language. What's the standard? What's the requirement? When do you waive? You know, this was vague. I wasn't sure that was really an enormous concern. However, our existing subdivision and site plan regulations do have language specific to waivers, and when the planning board can waive. So it just made sense to me to reference subdivision regulation, section 302, or site plan regulation, 140.b, whichever is applicable. That seemed straightforward and took care of the issue. And continuing on down. I am now scrolling all the way through 14 on to 15. Obviously, there's a huge amount of, given that everything in yellow is changed, there's a lot of change, but kind of once again, if it's MS4 required, I'm not touching it. Or at least if the suggestion is that it's MS4 required, I'm not touching it because I can't say whether it is or it isn't. So we've got pages of that here.
Can I just address the 3.11.8, which is the appeal process? Where the applicant may appeal the decision within 30 days, consecutive calendar days, and the action filed within 60 days.
So where are you?
I'm sorry, 3.11.8. Where it says appeals.
On to page 12, I think. Second to last paragraph.
It's under permit procedures and requirements. Because depending on the draft, you are the numbers are
Yeah,
different.
this one might have.
I'm not sure. Which draft are you looking at?
I'm actually looking at, well, I was looking at yours, the one that you submitted on the portal.
Page
Yeah.
12,
We don't have all your nice corrected page numbers and all that stuff, Jay, so.
what do you mean?
Page 12. So all my pages are page 10, so.
Well, I'm saying, so my PDF reader says page 12, that's why I said page 12. So,
Oh,
yeah.
10.
right. I'm confused.
That's right. So if you didn't change the page locations at all, you should be around page 12.
Yeah, it's under permit procedures and requirements, so that's the only reliable landmark.
No, the only reason I bring it up is because it doesn't really, I mean, first of all, who are you appealing to? I guess would my question, are you appealing to the, are we gonna appeal to the zoning board? Are we appealing to the, who do you appeal to and where, I guess that's my question. I mean, I understand you can appeal it within 30 consecutive calendar days, but does it go to court? Does it go to, where does it go? I
That
guess?
should just be struck because the appeal process is statutory.
Okay,
I would strike that.
all right. So maybe that's just.
Appeal from the
added,
planning board
okay.
decision is to Superior Court.
Yeah, right. Or the Hague, so, yeah, okay.
So, yeah, that's a good catch. We should just strike that.
No, I was looking at that today, and I'm like, well,
To whom? Right. Who am I
where do we go?
No, it's, if you go into this
Page 12.
version, well, this version, everything's the same page. But it is 3.118 at the bottom of 10 of 13. Here.
It was double-sided too, mine wasn't the one that on the portal, that I printed. Oh, that's fine.
So you're taking that out.
Yeah, I think we
Strike
should.
the last
Okay.
paragraph of that one.
Right, so. Should I have any more changes? It might not. Yeah, I think that's it for my changes. That's it for my changes. There weren't many. There were some, obviously, there were a lot of comments in Attorney Hollis's letter that are not addressed, and they're not addressed because, once again, I didn't address them, I should say, because when I looked at Nick's letter, you know, his comment was, for example, item 15 through 27 in this letter, these all relate to MS4. They've been
So-
copied and pasted
Okay.
from the document referenced, so I didn't touch them. So there's a whole lot of these comments that I simply didn't touch, for that reason.
Well, thank you. Anybody have any questions at this point?
Nope.
Lou, do you have anything you want to add?
I probably had more questions than,
Okay.
especially looking at what was being proposed compared to what Attorney Hollis had written. up
So
there.
what I think I'm going to do, since we have the new copy, Kim, did you want to just address anything that the consultant may have said with regard to this copy? Now that we're,
So if you're looking at the new copy, the new printed copy that you received tonight, this is Nick taking Jay's, right? And he has left Jay's changes unchanged if he felt that they were acceptable. I think there's like one that Jay mentioned with the 5 feet where, and I understand the page numbers are just annoying. But under
3.5.2.
completed application requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5.2. Instead of the 5 foot, he's just saying, topo contours with sufficient detail to convey drainage patterns in the area. Just kind of leave it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that, as Jay was going through his changes, that's one that I saw. A lot of it coming out, he agreed with. It wasn't, there's a lot of the items that were striking, but he says, he's made some changes to items 29 through 30 and 36 through 38 to partially address what Attorney Hollis has said. But he's tried to keep things reasonable for both the town and the applicants.
Just going back to 3.5.2, I can see he also added, he replaced vegetation. Attorney Hollis's letter had comment on vegetation, that it was too vague. What was meant? Personally, I felt vegetation was, to me, was obvious, but nevertheless, he's put in more clarifying language
Yeah.
that says existing notable vegetation, including trees, tree lines, and canopy layers. So certainly that's much clearer, and it does address Attorney Hollis's question. And then on number 17, he's added where you show the areas of poorly or very poorly drained soils, if proposed to receive stormwater runoff, and I think that's reasonable too. That makes sense.
Just kind of clarifying
Yeah.
language.
So sorry to interrupt your flow.
So then, items 31 through 35 all pertain to the operation and maintenance requirements. And so, he hasn't made any changes so far to these. The permit is fairly non-specific in what's required, only that something needs to be in place to ensure that the long-term O&M is done. From the permit, what we need to meet for these items, he's going to defer to the board. He'd consider reasonable changes. So, I mean, that's probably an area we want to focus on to see if you agree with the language that he has, or if you want to go back to Attorney Hollis's questions and kind of suggest to lighten that.
These seem, to me at least, these seem reasonable. Kind of, once again, not knowing. I
Right.
can't speak to what necessarily is MS4 required, but it seems like there was certainly an effort here to address some of those comments.
Well, so the permit, and he and I went back and looked at new development, redevelopment shall have procedures to ensure adequate long-term operation and maintenance of stormwater management practices that will remain in place after the completion of the construction project. These procedures may include the use of dedicated funds or escrow payments for development projects, or the acceptance of ownership by the permittee of all privately owned BMPs. These procedures may also include the development of maintenance contracts between the owner of the BMP and the permittee. So, procedures may include the submission of an annual certification documenting the work that has been done over the last 12 months to properly operate and maintain the stormwater control measures. That was one of the areas that Attorney Hollis really focused on, was
Yeah.
putting so much burden on
The applicant.
the applicant
Yeah.
for kind of continuous reporting.
But I guess also too, I mean, if you're dealing with MS4, is really compliance issues. Are you complying with the permit? And so, it is, I think that's a delicate balance.
He is right, so when you go back, and Attorney Hollis brought up Nashua's, and the fact that Nashua has the right to go on to, land to maintain that you're holding up to the standards. They also have the right to charge back the property owner if Nashua determines that the owner has not
Comply with the,
complied.
makes sense.
So that's
It's 311, and you have to change it.
I think that was one of our concerns with an existing project where the town may have thought of taking the land that contained the drainage pools, and we said,
No.
no, we don't want it, because for that purpose, there's nothing in Litchfield's language that says that if there was a issue with the runoff that was going into those, we could charge back the property owners. And in that development's case, the property owners would have literally been the property owners, you know, the homeowners.
right.
Which,
Minor point, but on 3.13.2, says by the responsibly private entity, I think that means responsible.
oh, responsible, yeah.
Very minor point.
So I think 3.13.2, 3, 4, I don't see that these are causing significant hardship. These all kind of speak to the language from the permit that
Right.
says you have to have a long term. But
I know that, what is it, 3.8.4, the planning, 3.8.4, I guess is that's what I'll reference, because I can't read the page number. Now, the planning board may require inspections to verify ongoing maintenance of water quality protection measures. Such inspections shall be performed at the Board of Selectmen or their designee. I'm assuming that is I don't know, who would that be, the coder, or would that be Lou, the town engineer?
no.
It would be,
No, so I think this caused Attorney Hollis some concern as well. Wherever it said Board of Selectmen,
Yeah,
remember, it's saying Board of Selectmen because the building inspector
right,
falls under the Board
of
of Selectmen.
okay.
So if you, whenever you're saying in, an ordinance, the board, it really means the board's designee, which is in this case, the building inspector,
Got it.
code
Okay,
enforcement.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
When I
it
was looking at
does,
that.
it
But
does say or the
throughout
designee.
all of our ordinances, it will say the board, the board.
But it wouldn't necessarily be the building
Slash.
inspector. Their designee could
Could be you.
Other designee, I mean, so it could be Kevin Brown, the road agent, depending on where it
Okay,
is
yeah.
and what it is, and it could be
Right.
Lou, it could be, you know.
Whatever makes sense.
And I wouldn't wanna hog tie it to a specific person,
Yeah.
because there are certainly times when the building inspector would go out, there's certainly times when the road agent would go out, and there's certainly times when the and Lou
Right.
will go out, so
That makes sense.
I think we wanna leave
Leave
it
it to their
general.
discretion.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Some
Leave it like
flexibility.
that better.
Yeah, leave it general.
That makes sense.
Whoever's closer and available.
Yeah. Sometimes it's both the building inspector and the road agent.
And 3 it talks about technical review, under 3.7.2. I know in these regulations, and what I saw is you can either submit with your site plan or subdivision, you can submit the application for the permit, or you could do it on its own.
Separately.
So they could come in dealing specifically with the stormwater first, and then, is that my understanding? And then come back and deal with the project as a site plan, but knowing that that has already been approved?
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I think one of the things that Joan and I have discussed is when these projects are coming through, before they've necessarily maybe even reached the planning board, you know, how we ask for fire and for police, and making those meetings more structured
Okay.
so that the road agent, the building inspector, police, fire were all there. Similar to technical review sessions that the
right.
city does.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
And then that way Joan can document all the concerns and that everyone has, and when it comes to you, you have that in a document that you can physically lay eyes on.
Okay.
So again, I'm gonna say something really minor, but now that you brought up 3.7.2, which I had not zeroed in on, I think we should strike the reference that shall be reviewed by the Hillsborough County Conservation District.
Yeah.
They haven't done that
I don't-
in so many
I guess that was my
years.
original question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then that was like,
It should probably
Yeah.
just read, shall be reviewed by a qualified professional consultant as
Right.
type.
Yeah. Agreed.
yeah, we can take the. Yeah, because I was looking at that and I'm like, Hillsborough County Conservation,
There was a
District, I
day,
mean-
they used to come out.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
How long was that ago?
Oh, I know they did it in the 80s, maybe into the 90s. I don't know when they stopped, but I mean, very, very long time ago, they stopped doing
Yeah.
it. They used to have soils conservation, like Service Corps people, and they would come out and do their thing.
Okay.
So 3.8.1 refers to a typical site plan management development agreement.
What number is it?
3.8.1. Says the document shall be in the form of a typical site plan, management, comma, development agreement, or as otherwise set forth. And I've never, in the town of Litchfield, never heard of a typical site plan, management, or development agreement.
Guess you could strike the word typical.
That helps.
If this were Hudson, I would say, yes, they do have a standard development agreement form.
So is management, site plan management and development agreement separate, or is that together? Is that comma?
They're separate ways you could comply with this.
So I think in that case,
So it should be, a site plan management, comma, development agreement, or as otherwise set forth.
okay. I think maybe a second comma after development agreement might clarify.
You are right.
So in items 15 through 27 are the items that our consultant says should remain unchanged.
Okay.
As the consent order that the town received states that the town shall enact a post-construction storm water management ordinance and a regulatory mechanism that is at least as stringent as section 4, element C and D of the, stormwater model standards. So, of the 2017 permit. So everything in items 15 through 27 is a directly comes from that required document. You know, again, this is not saying that you can't bend the rules a little, but you wanna be very careful.
Well, I mean, I think, obviously, I think it goes back to the whole issue of compliance and accountability and all that, so that makes sense.
I mean, that's really why
The purpose of the MS4 is to
Right.
make sure that,
I certainly didn't feel comfortable suggesting changes, but Nick's quote is, they have been copied and pasted from the document reference in the permit and consent order. So that
Right,
kind of suggested, you can't change that.
right.
At least I can't.
That's, I mean, I take that as, this is what we wanna see, and this is what we're gonna be looking for.
right,
So I think the minute you start changing any of that,
tinkering with it.
you're raising red flags.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's wiggle room, but my general sense has always been when you get a letter from EPA or DES or whatever, and it says, this is what we're looking for, I cut and paste that right here.
Yeah, yeah.
He thinks that all the other items in 31 through 35, related to operations and maintenance, plus the proposed changes in 15 through 27 have reasonably addressed, any concerns. So,
Lou, any other questions? I know you said you had
No,
some
I'd ask
questions.
Nick a question under 3.4.3, report section including, under C, or E, when detention structures are planned to reduce future condition peak discharge, the soil cover complex method shall be used. And I've never heard that formally used, the soil cover complex method, and I asked him Right here.
Oh, yeah, 3.4.1.
3.4.3, report section,
Uh-huh, yeah.
E.
You mean under design standards?
Wherever
So
it
this
is.
is my 3.4.3. Which document are you in?
It says 3.4,
I'm the one that
5.3.
just got handed out tonight.
Yeah,
See it right here.
3.4.
Says the heading is report section including, colon, A, B, C, D, E.
It's on the one you sent the last time.
There is a duplicate 3.4.
Oh, I see it. Okay, got it.
Got it.
The numbering,
Oh, okay.
like,
Where
We're
are
gonna
you?
have to go through all the numbering.
it's right
Yeah.
above 3.6 on the
It
one.
should be 3.5.
It's 3.6 on
Just
the
over,
one.
it, like right above it.
3.5.3 probably.
Exactly, yeah, it should be 3.5.
Okay.
All right.
So
Oh,
under E,
gotcha.
it refers to a soil cover complex method. And I've never heard of that.
Soil cover complex.
I'm not sure what it means.
Is there, okay, so you can't even think about alternative language?
I mean, right now, for the past 5 or 6 or even 10 years, every drainage calculation that has come in has been done in HydroCAD software, which is the generally accepted software to use.
So should
Now,
we-
it does, that method, or the method used in the HydroCAD is all soil-based. Because they have A soils, B soils, C soils, D, on, and each have different runoff factors, so. It's just, I've never heard it said this way.
So should we replace the soil cover complex method with a different method?
Well, there's a list of them in the regulations that we had in there, and I was gonna, as part of what I gave Joan tonight, is to add the HydroCAD software as one of the methods and eliminate 3 other old ones that don't get used anymore.
So how should we change E?
Well,
Yeah, I'm still lost on.
I'd say approved method, that's all.
So when
Soil
detention
improvement.
structures are planned to reduce future condition peak charge, the approved method?
Yeah, well, they could go back into the, another part of your regulations that talk about drainage calculations.
3 point, I'm still lost.
This is
as to where-
3.5.
It should be 3.5, so it's right above 3.6.
Okay,
Okay. If you go into, if you go into the normal regulations,
Soil method approved.
page 5, 4.1, if you go up to the original regulations that are here that aren't being changed,
What is it, 5 point what?
4.1, page 5,
4.1.
on appendix A. It's a different appendix.
oh,
So that defined the various A, B, and C methodologies for doing calculations. And my recommendation to Joan is under this hearing you're gonna have, you might as well pick up all these little odds and ends while you're at it instead of a separate hearing.
So I'm sorry, what are you
Can we put the
referencing?
soil
in?
approved method?
Under
Page
appendix A,
Yep, page 5.
page 5, 4.1.
Hydrology runoff calculation methods?
Yes, and I say A, B, and C, get rid of them,
Okay.
and add the HydroCAD software modeling. Because that's the latest and greatest to get used. And you-
HydroCAD.
HydroCAD,
software.
stormwater modeling, that's the official title of the software. And you can put in www.hydrocad.net is their website if you want to. But that's, all the engineering firms have been using this for 15, 18 years. And the other
So-
methods were carryovers from what the highway department had as official New England Hill and Highland, stuff like that. And that dates back to about 50 years.
Okay, so what we should do in E then is
Refer to
reference
Appendix
one of
A.
the methods in Appendix A, Section 4.01. Got it.
Yeah, and add
Okay.
HydroCAD in there and get rid of
All
the
right.
other loosey-goosey ones.
I can make that change.
Are there any other industry standard software,
There,
packages?
there might be, but the HydroCAD is, everything that has come into the Litchfield Planning Board in the last 20 years has been HydroCAD,
When you say HydroCAD or equivalent,
or similar,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we don't want.
Just to give it another option if it exists, that,
generally accepted, approved by the planning board. I mean,
yeah.
you want to be careful you don't get some software written in California or New Mexico
Yeah.
or somewhere else, but this is a New Hampshire product. People are up like Conway that developed
So
it.
HydroCAD or equivalent approved by Litchfield Planning Board.
Yeah,
Something like that.
that would be fine.
Is this what UNH stormwater would use?
I'm not sure they, I haven't looked at their manuals or updated reports. Their thing was more on water quality. They were testing all different BMPs to see how they performed.
Yeah.
They never got, at least the issues I was looking at 10 years ago, they were just talking about water quality issues, pervious pavement and things like that. They're all BMP related, not necessarily calculations related. May have changed, but.
But you're okay with D? The
Yeah.
Soil Conservation Service, SCS?
Yeah, the HydroCAD is based on the soil conservation method. They took, the TRS stuff was the best that we had, but it was really complicated to apply. And HydroCAD kind of took that and just, bam, made it sweet. Really sweet. And the thing is, where the other method, you couldn't pile a string of structures in line, which you can do with HydroCAD. In the TRS method, you could do the same thing, where you have maybe multiple ponds or something. Very, very challenging to calculate. It was a lot of work. HydroCAD just cleaned it right up.
Is that mentioned in the New Hampshire Stormwater Manual? As, why not?
Well,
I don't know.
the state's getting all these things when they get the AOT permits. They're getting all HydroCAD stuff
Okay,
in New Hampshire.
well, then it must be, cause the New
Yeah,
Hampshire
I'm sure
Stormwater
it is.
Manual is written by DES.
Yeah, because all the firms are using it.
Okay,
So you can just refer them back to Appendix A.
And change appendix. Then we'll have to make sure to change appendix A
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Or just stick it in here, which might be
You know,
easier.
and despite the fact that it wasn't in the regulation officially, the one we're operating under now, the HydroCAD has been used consistently over the years
Okay.
as an accepted method.
so I think the largest issue is how are we addressing the concern about the 15,000 square feet to under an acre?
I think there's some other concerns too that I had with the, after the fact reporting. The way the language was, what I thought was a little crazy.
Okay,
So
Which section?
we need to just make sure that we have a plan in place to get reports to validate it. And we can do that however we want, as long as it complies.
Yeah, it's not, the question I have wasn't about the report itself, but how often you do it.
Right.
A weekly report, a monthly report. I mean, once these developments are completed, like take Weatherstone, for example. I think they have a homeowners association at Weatherstone. So they're taking care of some of the common areas with respect to drainage that isn't a town responsibility,
right.
because the town owns the roads. To go out and have a monthly report or something on these things, I mean, I've been out there in that project since it's been built, which is 5 or 6 years ago, and, you know, the stormwater basin, that outlet structure, I don't think it's ever had water go through it. So to go out there and review it and write a report every month just
Right.
seemed a little.
So which section are we?
Right,
Oh, we're down towards the end on the
So
permitting.
what would be the frequency that you would suggest?
A year or more.
Maybe
Yeah.
every year.
so I would
do a
do
year or
it,
two.
I would correspond it with the MS4, requirement that the town must file and do it yearly.
That's what I was thinking too,
Yeah.
annually makes sense. I'm just trying
Annually
to,
would be easy, cause you can go to probably 90% of the BMPs in this town that have been built over the last 20 years. You could stand there and look at them and say, yeah, they're okay, and walk away. You're not gonna spend all day there. I mean, the worst thing I was sharing with Jay is a couple of them have trees growing in them. And some agencies want all that stuff cleared out. I don't know why. The one I keep thinking about is right up off Albuquerque that drains in by the Public Works Recycling Center. There's never been water that leaves that basin. There's trees now out there. They're probably 6-7 inches around. Do you want the road agent to go out there, cut these things down every year?
so, I guess I'm looking for where, cause if I look at section 3.13.2, it says inspection and maintenance logs shall be provided to the planning board on a yearly basis as part of the final part of the MS4 permit requirements, so is there another?
Well, 314.3, permittee erosion and sediment control inspection shall submit monthly erosion and sediment control reports to the planning
Okay,
board.
so we
or
can
the
change that.
designee.
Where,
3.14.3.
And then even at the beginning of that, it says, the permittee shall conduct document inspections of all erosion sediment control measures no less than weekly, or as specified in the stormwater management permit. In the stormwater management permit, what's interesting, when you get an AOT submission, there's the whole operation and maintenance description typically included. How that gets brought over to the town level, I guess it does by default that you approved the plan, so you approved the drainage
Well,
report.
yeah, the state permit, so, yeah.
And I've never had comments on them because they're all pretty standard requirements of doing inspections, but nothing you would do weekly or monthly even.
So what frequency would you suggest?
Well, the annual one, I think.
But isn't this doesn't 13.14.1,
Is that,
isn't that
it says site
referencing?
inspection and final report.
But isn't 3.14.1 during construction?
yeah,
During and after construction, so you have
Final
pre-construction, and then I'm looking at 14.3.
That's okay, so final reports, right.
Yeah, it includes both. Site inspections and final report. So under 314.3, they're looking at no less than weekly. But if you look at the past week, there's no BMP that gets impacted when there's no rain.
I'm still not following you. 3.14.3 final reports?
The permittee shall
Doesn't that say-
conduct document inspection, or document inspections of all erosion and sediment control measures no less than weekly or as specified in the stormwater management permit.
I think I'm on a C.
that's still before completion.
And prior and.
I think you're on a different. So my
Okay,
my
this is-
3.14.3
I'm sorry.
is
This
final
was the one I
reports.
was reviewing before you hand me one here tonight, unless it's been changed in here. 14, pre-construction. That would be B, I guess, 314.1B.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, weekly is still in there, no less than weekly.
Oh, there's more than one 3.14. That's what's going on.
Where? Where's the,
So
It's on page 10.
Yeah.
that helpful.
Yeah, that can help.
Can't be wrong there.
So I got to figure out where you are. You are on site inspection and final report.
Yes.
Okay.
3.14.1.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
B.
B. Okay. So isn't this under during construction?
Well, yeah, pre-construction, doesn't say during construction.
So maybe we should just clarify.
Yeah.
because in
Doesn't
the
say-
intro,
Doesn't specify.
no, in the intro paragraph of 3.14.1, it says the planning board reserves the right to require additional construction inspections beyond those outlined in the proposed schedule. And then it says the inspection schedule shall consider the following essentially. So I took A and B to mean during construction. It should probably be clearer, but that's how I took it.
A is before
Yeah,
construction.
I think maybe
Pre-construction, yeah.
clarifying
That
that
to me
during
is the
construction,
the
maybe.
planning board site visit they might do during the application process. That's.
So should we, for B, would it be better or clearer if we said during construction, permitting and erosion?
Well, even weekly during construction, not necessarily. You know, like you get 2 weeks without rain, there's nothing happening to these BMPs.
Well, the only way
30
we could
days.
change that is if we defined an event that would trigger
Well, the
an
1
inspection.
inch, the 1 inch of rain seems to be when the DES wants to have an inspection done of these things under the AOT permit.
So 1 inch of rain as measured by who and where?
Typically a weather service,
Okay, so-
Concord Airport and the Concord area, probably Manchester Airport, they have data on that.
So is there a language that you would suggest that we could?
Well-
The reason why I'm zooming in on that is because I think, I mean,
I would just take no less
unless we have
than
an
weekly.
extension from EPA, do we? Then my assumption would be that
Leave it at
tonight,
that for now.
the planning board should vote to send this to public hearing at our next meeting. And that means that by the time that we post this, which is days away, we're gonna need to have a
So I would,
version of this amended, so
Right.
anything that, so I don't mean to be like a jerk about it, but I'm zooming in on language changes so that we can actually come up with a draft, so. So if it's not weekly.
I would eliminate the words no less than weekly
Okay,
or. So it would
In
read.
where?
Under
Sediment encroachment as specified in the stormwater management permit and prior to and following anticipated storm event. So just take out the weekly.
perfect.
And specify that it's during construction.
And I'll put during construction as the
Yeah.
intro to the.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
make it clearer, because you have pre-construction, then you're gonna have during construction, and then it
Okay,
says
after
closed,
construction.
yeah, so.
That makes sense.
So I mean, I only know what's required by them as for a permit that I complete with Nick's assistance yearly. And we are required to report anything that is a completed project that has had issues after completion. So
I'm part of that.
this is kinda, I wouldn't look at any of this. I'm looking at after the project has been completed, it's all been closed out. Has there been issues that the road agent or that someone has had to address? And now we are requiring the developer, the homeowner to open back up.
That makes sense.
Employee of the town of Litchfield. Under 3.14.2, it talks about inspector qualifications. Inspections shall be performed by independent third party, qualified New Hampshire licensed professional engineer or CPESC. Alternatively, inspection shall be performed by a qualified employee of the town of Litchfield.
Yeah,
I think that means Lou.
Lou,
So maybe,
yeah.
yeah, by the, okay,
Because also I'm a PE, so
okay.
I fit
Right.
both. But you may.
No, but what said, it's just the qualified employee of the town of Litchfield, and it would be, by the town engineer or the Litchfield
could be
town
road agent.
engineer?
Could be the road agent,
Yeah.
Or the road, yeah. Okay.
6 days later.
Forgive my ignorance. What's a CPESC?
I don't know either.
Certified Professional Environmental, I don't know.
Yeah.
You were going right.
Maybe I was going there, I don't know.
Somewhere.
You don't wanna finish it?
I'm getting hung up on the SC item.
You were the closest one.
I don't even know what that is.
Looks like it's certified professional in erosion and sediment control.
I think
All
that's it.
right.
I think he's
All
got
right.
it. Yep, that's
Google
what
it.
it is. Yep.
Yeah, I had to look it
Good
up.
old Google.
Um, yeah.
And the next thing I think we should,
I mean, from reviewing it, I think it looks pretty good, as it is stands right now. I know, we've been going over little bits and pieces, but, the overall document, I think, is good. It addresses a lot of the stuff.
So if that makes sense to the rest of the board and there's an interest in moving forward, then what I could do is, if I could get the Word version of this, then I
I'll
can make
sign
these
it.
changes, and I'll do the corrections to the pageation and the numbers, and then we
Please.
can post that and get that out to everybody and make it public.
So I guess the question is gonna be, when do we wanna schedule the public hearing?
Next meeting.
Next
the
meeting.
18th.
next meetings?
Yeah, I think it would have to be the 18th.
And
Is that-
Have final draft by Friday.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Friday.
fast.
I mean,
I know.
do we wanna have a special meeting? I mean, I'm,
Well, how many days' notice do you have to post? 10.
To,
couldn't, no.
We don't have enough time.
Or you could switch the 18th meeting to the 25th, not have.
No, but isn't this due the 19th?
We had to put it in by the 19th.
Oh, the 19th?
Yeah.
Guess you're going with the 18th.
I have it.
Yeah.
what?
When is this
When is
due?
the,
Wasn't that
when
our
is
due date?
the compliance? When do, what's the date for compliance?
June 30?
Oh,
30th, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, we had the 19th the whole time.
yeah,
It's only on the
Yeah,
ninth,
he
so-
said the 19th the last.
Yeah, June 30th. Okay.
Which
No,
means that in the
It's,
event,
so the order of compliance is the end of the MS4 permit year.
okay.
That's June 30.
I mean, I could get these done by Friday.
Okay,
These aren't a lot of changes.
no.
So will you be striking out all the things that,
We talked about tonight.
well, all the things that have been crossed off by Lily Rowe? In the version that we got tonight?
I think this includes all the changes.
Yeah, this version
from
includes
Lou.
everything, so all I'll do is just add the changes that we made
Tonight.
tonight.
Yeah.
Everything, all the other changes will still be in here, and then
Yeah.
we can post it.
So, I know there is no public here this evening, but I am going to, in fairness, I will open it up to public comment. Does any members of the public wish to speak this evening? And seeing nobody in the audience, I will close public input. I just want to make sure that's on the record. But we can schedule this for the 18th of June, and with the changes, and have the first public hearing.
Wherever it says PE should specify New Hampshire licensed professional engineer, PE. Most of them got changed, but I think things got added in here after the fact. And
so,
Okay.
given that
you don't
we
want
will,
a Louisiana PE coming up here.
I guess not.
yeah, given that we will be covering this on the meeting on the 18th, that means that we can hold one more public hearing before the due date.
If we had to,
Just barely, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, actually, hold on. Dates.
yeah, we don't wanna
Is it weekends of the
We
week?
won't be able
We'd
to.
prefer not to.
do that.
Yeah, you don't wanna do that right before.
Well, that's why
Right, no.
I'm sensitive
We can't stop the camera.
to providing a draft to Attorney Hollis,
think it's
as
better,
we
Yeah.
stated at the last meeting.
I think that'd be prudent.
And then maybe, we can address some of if there are any existing concerns versus the public hearing.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's been very helpful to have these comments.
Yeah.
And to have them in writing, so that, we can really address them, so.
But we do wanna make it clear that we're not talking about any homeowner that's going out and, putting a shed on the back. the backyard.
Right, this, yeah, exactly.
Well, when you look at the 15,000 to 1 acre, there's always a kickback that says or as determined by the planning board type of a qualifying thing.
I mean, the
For
50,000.
a lot of the requerequirements, what the
And that
planning
only
board.
applies to people coming in for a site plan or subdivision.
Yeah,
Right,
Which should negate most small projects anyway, so.
Right.
that makes sense.
If you're disturbing more than an acre, that's not insignificant.
Okay. So I guess, how does the board, if we're gonna do, we're gonna bring this to a public hearing, we're gonna need a motion, to do that for the next meeting. So does anyone want to entertain a motion to bring this, rules and regulations to the public hearing on the 18th?
So I'll make a motion to have a public hearing on June 18th, 2024, addressing the amended changes to the revised May 31st changes to the proposed stormwater management, erosion control, and stormwater management rules and regulations proposal.
Okay, I have a motion by Jared. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Rosé. Is there any further discussion regarding this? All right, all those in favor of the motion for public hearing to be held on June 18th, 2024, here in Town Hall, please signify, on the matter of the stormwater management rules and regulations for the town of Litchfield and the MS4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-0. Okay. And obviously, Jay, you'll have time to make whatever
Yeah, I can do
changes
this.
you need,
I'm
and,
gonna go send it to you now, Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
and if you wanna, I mean, obviously, if you wanna send it to Attorney Hollis to look at, you can do that as well.
I'll do that.
Then do we want to incorporate those changes, those changes to appendix A today to do at the same time?
Yeah, so Jay would.
Right,
Yeah,
Jay's
well,
gonna
yeah.
do
To it to
the,
be a separate motion, but if you'd like, I was gonna just incorporate it into the body, but if we want to
all right,
add.
wait, well, we can entertain a motion to do
Well,
that.
there's some other changes.
There are.
Do you want to explain these?
sure.
This is to appendix A.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, couple are, but mostly appendix A.
So I had been keeping notes in my copy of things that, in one place it says one thing, in another one it says something a little different, and they're fairly straightforward. On Appendix A, on page 19, 20, and 21, these are the cul-de-sac pictures, the circular ones, reverse Ps. The reference on the drawing is the 2% cross slope. It should be 3%, which is how they've been built for the last 10 years, or 15 years, but might as well get it.
You said drawings, do we,
Yeah, they're exhibits.
So exhibit C on page 19.
F, G, and H, they're the cul-de-sac exhibits.
What page did you say, 19?
Well, Lou's going to F now,
Page 19,
so he's on
20, and
22.
21.
you know,
Okay.
I printed that, that's
Yeah.
fine.
And then on page 12, paragraph 510.00, the scale shall not exceed 100 feet to an inch, and I'm recommending changing that to 50 feet, because 100 feet, you can't really see much of anything for a site plan.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Page 12.
Page 12, section 510G.
Page
In what?
12 of
510?
Appendix A?
It's the regular,
It's the regular, is it
it's
the
the
zoning
regular,
or the site
has
plan?
nothing to do with appendixes.
Oh, you're in, okay, just,
I'm in,
so, can we just stick on Appendix A for a moment? Do we have these updated illustrations? With the changes that you're suggesting?
The illustration hasn't changed since they were developed about 30 years ago. And it had the 2%, see the 2% around the edges? And that should read 3%, that's all.
No, I don't.
You gotta zoom way in.
2%?
Right, I just don't,
Present slow.
I don't have this graphic
Oh.
to amend, in other
Yeah, and the
words.
graphic is,
So
again,
we
30
would
years
need-
back, and I don't have access to any files there, so I don't.
The graphic is in there, isn't it?
Well, the picture is in there.
Right, but I
I
don't
don't
think I
have
can
a
edit the picture.
electronic file of it.
Sure you
Can I? I'll try. Can't promise, but I'll try.
And all the 3 cul-de-sac things are the same.
Because this might not be an editable PDF. I'll try.
can. They're all editable.
You got 3 days.
All right, so.
You can find a way.
So now you're back to the regular site plan
Subdivision, page 12.
subdivision.
Okay.
Little bitty
510,
text box.
flat standards. Horizontal scale, this is G, horizontal scale not to exceed 100 feet.
Yep.
And I changed that to 50 feet, because the 100 scale is just minuscule, you need a magnifying glass to read it. And they never come that way anyhow, because the engineers doing the work can't use it that effectively anyhow. Page 16, section 730.05 paving.
Is this the regular?
Are you in subdivision regulations?
Yeah, I'm in subdivision regulations.
Page 16,
The last paragraph.
paving. Okay.
Yeah, paving, it says a 2-inch base course.
Yep.
And the typical section has a 3-inch base course, so that should read 3 inches instead of 2 inches.
Oh, well, we have an RFP, I hope.
And under Appendix A, page 4. The design table.
Table 3.2.
Let's see here, Appendix A. Page 4. Okay, at the bottom of that table, there's a reference A, the reference manual to be used in determining requirements, da-da-da-da-da. And what I would recommend adding to that is this document here. It's an AASHTO document for low-volume roads, which allows you to compromise some of the specs that are in the reference document, which is the so-called Green Book.
So when you say add to that, do you mean just reference it?
Just reference it, that's all.
Do you have all this written down somewhere?
I gave it to John.
Okay.
Also, I have it right here, so I'll give it to
That's
you.
it.
I'll give it to you. So page 5,
We're back in the appendix
same
again?
thing.
Okay.
Let's see. 4.1, again, these are the methods for calculating.
Yeah.
So 4.1 on page 5. So take out A, rational method,
Yep.
B, New England Hill and Highland,
Yep.
and C, the Potter method. Take
Yep.
those out completely.
And add stormwater.
And then put in
modeling.
the HydroCAD in here.
Yeah, stormwater, or HydroCAD stormwater modeling software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It basically is a computer version of the SCS method. And on page 6, 4.2. B, C, and D. That they should be designed for or calculated for 2, 10, 25, and 50-year storm events, and check for 100-year, under B, C, and D.
You've got that language somewhere there?
Well, it says right on here.
Okay,
What should it be?
On B, C, and D,
Yeah,
yeah.
for stormwater, or closed drain systems, typically what you get with HydroCAD, the beautiful thing about HydroCAD, once you have it modeled, you can do any storm event by just changing the rainfall intensity. So you could, any storm you want, because the extreme precipitation that they have in the regulation here is what the DES requires to use today, because we keep getting 100-year storms every few years. So I would just say, under this drainage design criteria, that they're designed for these frequencies, and then, but I would check impacts for 2, 10, 25.
So I'm still trying to figure out what should we be changing?
Well, towards the, after that says 25-year storm frequency,
Yeah,
check impacts for the 50-year storm. Or you could use 50-year and 100-year. Why don't you just do that?
so 50-year
50-year
and
and
100.
100-year storm event.
You're just adding the 100-year to C and D then?
Excuse me?
B, C, D.
And, well, B already has 50. I'm sorry, C and D already have 50 on there.
So you're just adding 100.
Right.
So we're just adding 100 to A.
Not A.
No, B gets 50 and 100. C and D should get 100 at each one.
So C is plus
C,
100.
C and D, just check impacts for 100-year storm.
Yeah.
Take out 50.
Okay.
No, leave the 50 in there.
Okay, so C should read 25-year storm frequency, check impacts for 50 and 100-year storm
Yeah.
event. And D should read
Same thing.
same thing. And B stays the same as it is now?
Yeah, we can leave that alone.
And A?
A is alone. A's okay.
A's okay. Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
And the road agent, I'd been talking to him about adding a detail for a catch basin polyethylene liner. This is a state detail. So it's off-the-shelf stuff, state's been using it for many years. And what it is, it's an insert. Once you have once you have it built up to the top of the concrete, before you put the bricks and the grate in, they insert this sleeve, polyethylene sleeve. Actually, they do that above the bricks. The purpose of it is to keep the rainwater off of the cement that holds the bricks in place, because that's what dissolves. And that's what causes all these basins to start dropping over time, and you got the bumps in the road. So this polyethylene liner, what Litchfield has adopted to help prevent these things from sinking is the concrete collar, which I developed with Roland. And this form liner would fit perfectly in with that to help keep these things from falling apart.
So should that go in appendix A then?
Yeah,
And,
So.
somewhere with,
and Kevin's on
Kevin has
board.
looked at it. I've talked to Kevin about it, and
Okay.
let's see, where we could stick it anywhere in the exhibits, call it,
So we've got exhibit A,
H,
B, C.
I, maybe?
Where?
No, the MS4 has to be done by
Exhibit I.
Friday.
For the last
This
one.
he can do a little after if he has to. But we have to have the MS4 stuff done so we can.
Is that going in
have a better meeting,
appendix A?
so.
From the state.
Where's that going, in appendix A, Jay?
It's appendix A and it's becoming exhibit
The last
I.
exhibit, the last exhibit.
Okay.
You wanna do that at the same hearing?
It's up to the board.
You can get it done, I guess.
Can you do it?
Well, I mean,
I think I can get it done. Okay, so the one caveat is I have to go in there and see if I can alter these,
Yeah.
images, and I
oh,
can't promise, but I'll try.
okay.
Sorry about
So,
that.
that's okay.
Well, we try to do it for now. If you can't do it, we just don't do
Matter
it.
of fact, those, I'm not sure they were done in AutoCAD, they were probably done on Mylars back then.
Yeah.
That was a Roland. That's how far back they go.
They are old. I mean, if nothing else, if we wanted to move forward with these for the next meeting, worst case, I could hand annotate them. It would still show the intent. It wouldn't be
Okay.
what we'd obviously finally do, but that would be the worst case, is I'd just do it by hand.
Yeah, then I would recommend that we
Right.
do that for the next meeting as well.
Just stays consistent,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
because the 3%, the change from 2 to 3% happened since after those were developed.
So we need a vote to do that.
Yes.
Right. I'll make a motion to accept upcoming changes made by Jay based on Lou's recommendations for updates to Appendix A
And subdivision.
and subdivision, and site plan review procedures. Sorry, subdivision regulations
For the
for the June 18th meeting of the planning board.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Jared. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-0. Okay. Good. Okay. Well, I want to thank you, everybody, for your work and certainly for your hard work in this. Thank you, Jay, for taking the time to review this and, you know, all your efforts, obviously. I know this is quite extensive, and hopefully we will get this done. So, I think that's the goal at this point. Okay. All right. Moving on in the agenda. Should I have to go back to? Approval, before we do that, committee reports. Any reports from any committees? Jeremy, do you have anything about?
Nothing major, but the Economic Development Committee met last Wednesday here, and we are working on developing some focus groups and questionnaires for them to go through to kind of dive deeper into what our questionnaire returned. So that's where we're at now. Our next meeting, hold on, is going to be June 26th at 6:30, right here.
The Conservation Commission is meeting at the fire station or town hall?
Town hall,
Town hall,
Thursday,
7 PM on Thursday night.
6:30 PM.
6:30, I'm sorry, at 6:30 PM, here in Town Hall on Thursday.
The public hearing.
And we have a public hearing for that meeting. The Capital Improvement Committee will be meeting June 17th. And I think, I have not heard anything from the Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee, so there's no reports there.
Can I add one thing, Mike?
Yes?
Back to the Economic Development Committee real quick. We really need volunteers to fill in these focus groups. If anyone has any interest, please feel free to come see Joan, Kim, come to the meeting on the 26th. We need help, so.
Jay, do you have anything for NRPC? I know Kim used to do the reports for,
Other than we do have a full commission meeting on the 19th.
okay,
That's at 7 PM, NRPC, Executive Committee at 6.
6th. Okay, thank you. Okay,
And we need planning board members.
yeah, I was gonna put that under any other business, but I'll say it now. Yes, we do need planning board members, so if anyone is interested in joining the planning board, we welcome your applications. So please, you know, refer them to Joan, and we hope to recruit some new planning board members if we can. Approval of the May 16th and May 21st, 2024 minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to take a look at those? Have any questions or concerns? Any changes? Anything that struck anybody as off?
I don't think I made any motions during that meeting where I was chair.
Okay,
It says I seconded it. I don't think I seconded any of
On
them.
the 21st.
Yeah, 21st.
Yes.
You did be there.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to figure out who seconded it.
What page?
Page 2 for the regional development impact. That was just,
It would have had to have been Rose or Travis.
I think it was Travis.
I want to say it was Travis too.
Yeah, I think it was Travis.
Under regional impact?
Yes.
yes.
If, I entertain a motion to approve as amended, or, so why don't we do this? Why don't we do each one separate? So, for the May, any questions about the May 16th meeting?
Yeah. Should be pretty cut and dry.
It,
Okay.
yeah, it's a
So-
long one, but nothing caught my eye.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to approve the May 16th, 2024 minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
1 second.
A second. Do I have any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the May 16th, 2024 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained. All right. Motion passes. Rose, were you at that meeting
16?
on the 16th?
Yes,
Yeah.
It says no.
On the 16?
Yeah.
Did you go to the fire station?
It was at the
No,
fire
that's the one
station.
at the
That
fire
was the
station.
special meeting.
That was a special.
Okay, so, it would be abstain. So it'd be, the vote would be 3-0-1. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, I haven't missed the meeting. The 16, yeah.
No, that was the special meeting.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, back to the May 21st meeting minutes. Do we want, entertain a motion to approve those as amended, or how are you?
I'll make a motion to approve the May 21st, 2024 minutes as amended.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second Jared's motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Any further discussion on those minutes? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approval of the May 21st, 2024 meeting minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstained? Aye. Motion passes 3-0-1. I just want to say thank you to our vice chair, Mr. O'Connell, for doing a great job for the May 21st meeting, filling in for me, who was absent that night. So thank you. I appreciate it.
If I could help.
You almost were absent too.
I was, yeah. Sports got in the way there. I had to skip dinner.
Okay.
The meeting started like 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because the applicants
But it
would
went
have
quick.
rather waited
I
than
see.
have
It went pretty
their
quick.
applications delayed.
got it. Any other business this evening? Jay, do you have anything?
I do not, other than I'll just make one comment, but at the next NRPC meeting, one of the things we're going to do, which happens often, is what we call a TIP amendment, Transportation Improvement Program Amendment. It's federally required, but probably the item of most interest is this amendment will be to remove the circumferential highway from the 10-year plan. So, yeah,
Big one.
so this could be the end.
So the circumferential is the one that goes from like the border from Nashua to Hudson and then
Sagamore Bridge.
Yeah, from the Sagamore Bridge
all the
to
way.
111 was the right-of-way that was currently proposed. It at one time was gonna go through Litchfield, across the Merrimack River to a new exit 9 on the turnpike. That piece went away. The Hudson piece was alive, but there is still right-of-way right down here.
At 3A.
Yeah, that the state did purchase, so.
We actually, with Roland many years ago, had plotted out a extension of Albuquerque down to 3A
Yep.
south, which included about 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet of an access road that the state had planned.
That's right. Industrial Drive.
Yeah. So just to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Again, going from where it ends now, cutting across by Cutler Road.
Right.
And swinging around, going back to 3A, be a continuous loop.
So
What-
maybe that'll bring some resolution to that at some point.
Yes.
Are they do you know if they're going to, no longer have, they're gonna sell those rights of ways?
We don't know, but I think if the project is really considered done, gone, and dead, then I would have to think at some point that would be reviewed as surplus land.
And do you know why that plan's being retired?
Yes, because it's been kicked back and forth.
60 years.
Yeah, I mean, for so many years. But the last kind of iteration was that, they put in funding to do a feasibility study to actually complete that section, in Hudson. And, part of what it would look at is really whether it's feasible, to permit a road like that at this point, given the potential wetlands impacts. And they did put in, a dollar amount, like $1 million, for the actual road, kind of a placeholder. Hudson would have had to put up a 20% match for the feasibility study, and that at town meeting was, soundly defeated. So I think at this point, there's just a sense that it's just never going to gain the momentum needed to move forward. So this action's proposed to take it out of the 10-year plan.
Yeah, that would have greatly helped Litchfield's commercial, access at the bottom part.
That's why all this land was rezoned.
Yeah, even Roland got the state to make provisions for a sewer line to go across the bridge to Merrimack and a bike path
So,
on the bridge.
Yeah.
we might wanna reconsider that zoning if,
You could have had the Walmart warehouse that is now in Raymond, you could have had that on prime farmland, had we had access
That's right.
out of there.
I remember they were talking about the Civic Center?
No, I'm talking about the Walmart warehouse.
No, I know, but they were talking about the Civic Center years ago, before it went to, the Verizon was built in Manchester. There were even people thinking, well, we could get that.
Also,
idea.
EPA,
that would be crazy.
That would have been not, oh,
With no restaurants, hotels, nothing to support it.
yeah,
Great plan.
the EPA, Division One, John DeVillers vetoed that way back.
Yeah.
EPA Division One, Region One.
Right.
Because it crossed like 7 vernal pool wetland areas in Hudson.
Let's mention Pennachuck Ponds.
Yeah.
So anyway, interesting development, I thought.
Yes.
Yes, very interesting.
Joan, do you have anything before we close?
Only that we have the,
Yeah.
hearing on June sixth the Conservation Commission has a hearing, public hearing to possibly purchase the Rocha barn with conservation funds and 2 grants. So that's, 6:30 on June sixth.
Is that the one near Parker Park?
No.
Where's that one?
South, a little bit further south.
Where, it's near Wilson, if you know where Wilson Farms is,
Okay.
on that road. Okay, very good. Thank you, Lou, appreciate it. Have a good night. So my one thing, I did mention this to Joan before the meeting, our bylaws. We do need to take a look at those for the next meeting. You have an opportunity to have not taken a look at them yet. Maybe peruse them, because we just need to update
Be on the new website.
update them, so, just, FYI, for next time, so,
next meeting?
next meeting.
And, last meeting I brought up that I attended the workshop, or what was that called?
The
I
planning.
I attended the planning, webinar.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And one thing that I noticed was they said that towns can vote to enact a design review, and that would allow us to require or allow, but not require, depending on what we enact in a warrant article, the ability to require a developer of a certain magnitude to come to us before they have their final plan to discuss it. And it has protections for the builder that vest for 1 year, so if they come in and show us their proposal, we can give feedback. We can schedule a site walk before acceptance without any problem. And they are protected with the current zoning. This basically allows them to show the town what they're proposing without fear of retaliation by the town, because there are definitely examples of times when a developer has proposed something and then the town changes the rules, and so this is a time where they can, before that period where after acceptance, have a discussion.
So they're safe for a whole year.
Yep, they're safe for a full year, so they have, all the developers in town that come with large projects, they already come before us, before acceptance anyway. So this is just protecting them and formalizing it.
So now we allow, now it's addressed in the subdivision regulations on page 5, pre-application review, and it's page 42 in the site plan, but it's not mandatory, it's purely voluntary.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you. That's interesting.
You can put it on the list,
Definitely.
because that would be a warrant article.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll definitely do that. All right, I have no anything else unless anyone has anything. Our next meeting is June 18th, so, and I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
I am definitely moved.
Okay, and I have a second?
Second.
That's moved, all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you on June 18th. Have a good night.